Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the live game review of our 2-1 defeat to Leicester City yesterday at the King Power Stadium. Sorry I'm a tad late. I was actually talking to my dad about the game downstairs. I was talking to him on his thoughts about Marco Silva and his thoughts about our recent form. So I apologise that I'm a little bit late. Listen, we've got a lot to talk about today. I suppose the biggest bit of news is that Sky Sports have confirmed that Marco Silva will remain in charge for the Merseyside derby on Wednesday. Obviously, Everton travel to Anfield to play Liverpool on Wednesday night before obviously hosting Chelsea at Goodison Park on Saturday. So, not the best two games you want after a defeat like that. Listen, it wasn't the worst performance yesterday, was it? Let's be honest. It was nowhere near as bad as it was against Norwich, but ultimately we lost the game of football and ultimately we've come away again with another defeat. And, you know, in isolation, like I said, that performance wasn't the worst that we've seen. It wasn't even by all means terrible. However, it's not really in isolation. It's coming after, you know, what was probably the worst performance we'll see all season against Norwich and a handful of other really, really poor performances that have led us into this position where we can only feel as a fan base that a change is massively, massively needed. And you know, I've seen a lot of people on Twitter saying that they felt a little bit sorry for Marco Silva yesterday and they felt like, you know, it wasn't necessarily his fault. I think he was at blame for a couple of situations yesterday. To be perfectly honest with you, I think his in-game management, again, was really, really poor. Reactive decisions rather than proactive decisions. The fact that it took him so long to bring Moise Kean on when it's very, very clear that from the 10 to 15 minutes he had on the pitch, he's very clearly our most dangerous player going forward in terms of the effect that he has on oppositions. However, he still isn't willing to put him in from the start. He still isn't willing to give him more than 10 to 15 minutes every single game. And yesterday was the first time we'd seen the lad in quite some time. Again, like I said, it was a truly gutting match yesterday, and it was a truly horrible way to lose that game. But you always felt as an Evertonian that we were never going to get anything out of that game of football. We went 1-0 up, obviously, from a really, really good Richarlison header. Fantastic ball in by Jabril Sidibe. Absolutely fantastic ball in. I actually think Jabril Sidibe played well yesterday. And a decent header from Richarlison, a really, really good header. A striker's finish, he gets up and he puts it in the back of the net, and all of a sudden you're thinking, you know what, we're 1-0 up, we're being tight defensively. Our midfield, obviously, we went with the formation of, you know, 5 at the back or 3 at the back, whatever you want to call it. Our midfield has been quite tight, and we actually managed to nullify Leicester for large parts of the game. We kept our shape well, and we didn't allow them to get through, but the moment that they did get through and they made it 1-1, and, you know, Jamie Vardy put the ball in the back of the net from what realistically is a situation that we should be dealing with much, much better. From that point on, I think we all as a fan base collectively felt like that was it. That was game over. That was at that point we knew that we weren't going to get anything from that game of football, because there's a massive mentality issue with Everton Football Club, and we've been talking about it for weeks and weeks and months and months. The mentality of our football club is so weak that I honestly think it will see us struggling to stay up this season, and it will see us in a massive relegation battle, and this is why something needs to change now. And listen, you know, as much as it wasn't the worst performance yesterday, and as much as maybe you could say we were a little bit unlucky, it's irregardless, isn't it? Because when you sit back and when you look at the results and when you look at the, you know, the league table, and when you look at the past few weeks, you know, it's another loss on the board. It's another loss to add to the loss against Aston Villa, Bournemouth, Sheffield United, Norwich. It's another loss this season, and it just simply isn't good enough. Now, I don't know whether it will come in and be able to sort this situation, to be honest with you, because I really, yesterday was the first time I sat back and I thought, you know what, I'm worried about this season. I'm really worried, because I can see us being in a bad relegation battle, and I can see us absolutely just falling to bits in that relegation battle and being one of the teams that, you know, ultimately goes down. Let's not sugarcoat it. We can all sit in and we can all say, oh, we're too big for that and we'll get out of it and, you know, we'll come into form. But at the end of the day, when you're looking at, you know, performances like the one last week against Norwich, and you're looking at how so blatantly poor we were against the side that, again, are in and around the same position as us. And when you look at yesterday and you think, well, okay, we performed a little bit better, but we still couldn't manage to get anything out of the game, regardless of whether it was unlucky, regardless of whether we deserved something. That does not matter at the end of the day, because we still lost the game. And we're in a position now in this Premier League, in this season, where we can't afford to be saying, well, we were unlucky there, or we were unlucky there, or we on another day would have got a point there. We literally have to look at it on the surface and go, well, you know what, we haven't won and we haven't drawn, we've lost another game. So regardless of whether it was lucky, unlucky, or we got absolutely humiliated. We've lost another game of football here, and it's more points lost going into obviously a Merseyside derby on Wednesday, which I don't think any of us are looking forward to, and then a whole host of tough fixtures. Chelsea were in really, really good form coming to Goodison Park as well on Saturday, and I think yesterday for the majority of Evertonians it was just one of those situations where you'd have to sit back and you'd have to just think, you know what, it's just annoying, isn't it? And it's typical Everton. We lost in a typical Everton fashion yesterday, and it was really, really gutting because I think to a lot of us, and me included, I don't think we deserve to lose that game. And I know there's a saying in football, you get what you deserve, and that's fair enough. But I don't think we deserve to lose that game, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. I thought there was parts in that game where we were the better team. We nullified Leicester, and we done really, really well at stopping their main threat, who was Jamie Vardy, until we allowed them to get through, until Tom Davies left his man, until Mason Holgate failed to sack his man after he come in the box, and that's when it all fell to bits, and that's when typical Everton come back into fashion, and we just absolutely fell to bits. And for me, that's one of the worst things to see yesterday. Is we could have all sat here last night and raved and ranted like I did last week against when we were beaten by Norwich, because you can come and you can sit and you can say it was an awful performance, the decisions that the manager made were shocking, every single player played awfully. But yesterday you look at it and you go, on the face of things, we weren't all that bad, but we still were nowhere near good enough, and we've still lost another game of football. Eugene says, is it time for Marco Silva to get the sack from Everton now after the Liverpool match? If Everton lose against Liverpool on Wednesday night at Anfield, it's on Amazon Prime TV, Cook-Off 2015. I think again, he's very, very lucky to be in charge of this game, if I'm being honest with you. Eugene says, what do you think Everton will get in the FA Cup final third round? I don't know, mate, to be honest. I'm not even thinking about the FA Cup, I'm really not. CJ says, absolutely devastated after the final goal winning yesterday. Gutting, me too. Eugene says, it's time for the change now at Everton because Marco Silva's gone backwards with this team. I agree, it is time for the change. Arteta says, hello, mate, been a while because quite frankly, my head hasn't been in a space to think about Everton at the present, but I'm slowly but surely getting back onto it. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well, mate. I'm not too bad, thank you very much. I hope you're doing okay. Jonathan says, hi, guy, Jonathan Zia says, where do you think Pochettino will go next? Everton, hopefully. And he says, next manager to be sacked, Ollie or Silva, who will last longer. Ollie will last longer, and it'll be Silva or Pellegrini to be sacked next. Where are we? Arteta says, thought Marco Silva's tactics were good yesterday with the subs in the time, and the subs ruined them in the end. Yeah, listen, I think the way he set up yesterday was ultimately to nullify Leicester. We didn't set up with the thought of going in and constantly pressuring them and constantly attacking them. It was a defensive formation, I think, and a defensive tactic. However, we didn't really play defensively. We were still, creating opportunities. We were still pushing for more even after we scored that first goal. And we done quite well in dropping back and making sure we kept that shape, so Leicester struggled to get through. But at the end of the day, Leicester were constantly pressurising us, and they were constantly throwing men forward. And it was always going to be the case is that you can nullify a midfield, you can stop a midfield from breaking through your midfield or your defence, 20 times in the game, but there's always going to be that one time that they do get through, and it's massively important that one time they do get through, your defence is absolutely tight as fuck, and your goalkeeper doesn't make any stupid mistakes, and ultimately you keep your head up and you don't let anything get to you. They got through and we absolutely fell to bits again, and ultimately that's what lost us the game yesterday. Eugene says, on Wednesday night it'll be Marco Silva's last match for Everton. I don't know, I don't know, but listen, I think again, I said weeks and weeks and months ago that should Marco Silva be sacked? Possibly. Will he be sacked? Probably not. And do I trust the board to make a right decision? No, I don't. CJ says he can't make subs at the right time. Arteta says, sadly, Cam, it's a results game, lad, and we haven't had the results, so he has to go. However, I do personally feel like there are many who could do it better and would join us. Do a fuck. I agree. Eugene says, Marco Silva's not the right man for Everton. Ziad says, Poch the Man United. I don't think so. Jonathan says, our board doesn't have a backbone. James says, do you reckon Anthony Gordon should get a game maybe as a sub later at some point when we're a bit more stabilised? But I wouldn't put Anthony Gordon anywhere near the starting 11 or the first team now, because we're just in a situation where I wouldn't like him to go in, have one bad game, absolutely destroy his confidence, and then never see the light of day again, because it's happened to far too many players in the past. David says, it's splintered, Jonathan, and Arteta Money says, sorry about the language as well, mate. No problem at all. Listen, we're all upset, and I think we're all angered at yesterday's result again, because it's very easy to feel hard done by yesterday. The game against Norwich, we all sat back and we all went, we were absolutely shite there. They were much the better team. Something needs to change. Whereas yesterday we sit back and we think, you know what, we weren't absolutely shite, and maybe Leicester marginally were the better team, but we probably deserved more than what we got. But it's regardless, isn't it? We still lost the game of football, and for me, that game in itself screamed that something needs to change at this football club. And unfortunately for Marco Silva, that tends to be the managerial position, because it's, you know, it's not feasible to get rid of half your squad, and it's not feasible to get rid of your board. If it was up to me, I think from top to bottom something needs to change. The board needs to go, after board needs to go. A lot of the playing staff need to be told they're not good enough because they're not good enough, let's have it right. And the manager needs to go as well, but unfortunately that is impossible. So it is just going to be the manager that gets that falling onto him. But that's football, isn't it? And at the end of the day, you know, I think Everton's board are far too relaxed on this situation, and I think to come out and, you know, to back the manager, fair enough, to back the man, fair enough, but to come and sit and say, you know, he's got all our backing and that, you know, we hope he can get us out of this situation, and we have all faith in him. And then again, watch consistent, you know, performances, and watch consistent games where we're losing constantly, and then watch us go into a period of time when we're going to be playing a shite load of teams that can easily come to Goodison Park, and, you know, easily we can travel to them and get absolutely turned over. It's massively worrying to think the board are still sleeping on this and seeing this as acceptable, considering we're in December now, and we're you know, one place away from being into the relegation zone. And when you look at the teams that are around us, you know, if we were sitting in 15th or 16th and the sides that are below us were absolutely dross and we're showing no fight, you know, at any point, and we're getting battered every single week, you'd probably sit there and go, well, you know what, this isn't good enough, but we're probably not going to get relegated because, you know, look at them below us. We're sitting in a relegation battle, and we're looking at sides like Norwich who were going to Arsenal and we were hosting Arsenal and putting in good performances, who were making it tough for an Arsenal side with world-class players in like Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. We're looking around us, and there's teams like Newcastle who are drawing against Manchester City, who are getting confidence here and there from good results against top sides, and we're not getting anything from anyone, and that's what really, really worries me. It massively worries me. If you're enjoying the team so far, please do hit the like button. By the way, it means a massive amount to me. I'm just going to tweet the stream out so everybody knows we are live. Get the stream shared as well all over your socials. Big thanks for all of the support on yesterday's instant match reaction as well. Really, really do appreciate that. I think for me, listen, I could have come on and I could have ranted, I could have raved, I could have, you know, shouted my head off about how Marco Silva isn't good enough for, you know, this position. But I think we've all established now that we need a change in manager, and we probably need a change in a lot of other things as well at the football club. But there's literally no point in ranting and raving about it, because the club have come out and the club have stated that they're backing him and that they've got faith in him. And at the end of the day, what's the point in us coming out and wasting our energy and wasting our time and wasting our like I said, our energy on something that clearly isn't going to change. Gaming Killer says, who should win the Ballon d'Or from your point of view? I don't know, and I'm not really interested, to be honest with you, mate. Probably Messi or the other fella from across the park, but I don't know. She just says, how you watching the game, Cam? Probably in bed with me quilt over my head, crying into a tissue, but probably on Amazon. Gary says, bad recruitment, bad tactically inept manager, too many players go missing, and I honestly don't know what the answer is exactly. Eugene says, we can get the Leeds United manager as the new Everton manager. I don't know whether he'd be able to do a job, to be perfectly honest with you. CJ says, us fans should win the Ballon d'Or for what we put out with every week. Spot on. Arteta says, sorry Eugene, but wouldn't have Bielsa if you paid me. Max says score prediction for the derby, and there's a lot of score predictions in there. David 4-0, Arteta money 5-0, and Mark Perry 6-1. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to the Merseyside derby, I think it's fair to say. If there's one game that it wouldn't surprise me if Everton actually showed up and actually showed a bit of fight and showed a bit of heart and showed a bit of willingness to play for the manager, it would be the Merseyside derby at Anfield. So I'm not putting anything past it, and you have to go into these games with a little bit of optimism, and you have to go into these games positively, because I don't think there's really any point in us sitting there and saying, well, we're going to get absolutely battered by Liverpool, we're going to get turned over, we're going to get embarrassed, because we all know it could happen. We're not in denial. Every single one of us watching now, every single Everton fan knows that we could very easily get turned over on Wednesday and get our asses slapped at Anfield by a Liverpool side that, let's have it right, regardless of whether we hate them or we dislike them, I absolutely despise Liverpool Football Club, but they're top of the Premier League, they're getting decisions week in, week out, and they're winning games of football. Whether they're winning them comfortably or not, they're still winning games of football. So irregardless of whether it's Liverpool, let's take the fact that it's Liverpool away from the situation. Let's take the fact that it's a Merseyside derby away from the situation. We are playing the side that are top of the Premier League. I've only dropped 2 points this season and are winning every game by hook or by crook, by some fashion, whether it be a stupid decision that's gone their way that shouldn't have gone their way because the referees in this league are absolutely corrupt, or whether it be a couple of decent goals by really good players. It doesn't matter, they're winning every single game, and it wouldn't surprise me if Everton turned up and put in a really, really good performance on Wednesday. But Everton could turn up and put on an absolute worldy performance and still be beaten, because the quality that they've got in their side far outweighs the quality that we've got on our side, and whether you like to say that or not, it's the truth. And for me, I just worry that we're in a situation now where the board are saying, right, okay, well, we've got faith in Marco Silva to turn this around, and we're still seeing some positives here and there. I just really, really am worried that the board are going to sit on that for far too long, and then it's going to become to a point where they actually wake up one day and go, shit, we're in a relegation battle here, sack Silva, rush to bring somebody in, and whoever they bring in can't get us steady, and we end up going down, and that's because they've left too late. I think Marco Silva should have left the football club last week, to be perfectly honest with you. And yeah, in isolation, yesterday's performance, probably wasn't sacking worthy. It probably wasn't the worst performance you'll see all season, but like I said, it's not in isolation. It's really, really not in isolation. It's another loss on top of losses, that have happened consistently this season. I think we've only performed well once this season, and I'm not even saying performed at a high level. I'm not even saying absolutely bladdered the team. I think we've only performed well once this season, and that was against West Ham. Every other game has been massively disappointing, and we've been absolutely shocking in. Even the games that have managed to nick a win, Wolves at the start of the season, Watford at the start of the season, we weren't fantastic in those games. Yes, we won them, but we weren't fantastic whatsoever, and we all put that down to it being the start of the season, and us settling back in and players coming back from international duty. But where are we? We're sitting in December now, and we still can't string 2 wins together, and we're still being beaten by average Premier League sides. And I'm not saying that about Leicester, because Leicester are really, really good, but I'm talking about the sides that we've been beaten by previously. And yet, like I said, regardless of whether the performance was better, regardless of whether it was a little bit more optimistic, regardless of whether we showed a little bit more fight, regardless of whether we created a little bit more of an opportunity, regardless of whether we've stabilised their midfield at time, we ultimately still lost that game of football, and we ultimately took nothing away from it. And when you look back at the results at the end of the season, if someone was to say to me, let's just say for argument's sake we got relegated this season, and someone was to say to me, Cam, you sit back and you review every single game this season, I wouldn't sit there and I wouldn't go, well, you know what, we were beaten by Leicester, Sheffield United, Norwich, Aston Villa, various other sides, but that Leicester game, we were marginally better than we were when we played Norwich, and we were marginally better than we were when we played Sheffield United. I'd look at the game and go, we've lost. The performances don't matter. They don't matter a jot, because at the moment, results matter far more over performances, and we're not getting the results whatsoever. So regardless of whether we can sit back and we can actually say, we were better yesterday than we were last week, or there was more positives, or there was more improvements, we ultimately still lost for me. And we can't keep losing, whether you like Marco Silva or you don't like Marco Silva, whether you think he should be sacked or he shouldn't. We ultimately cannot keep losing, and even if we lose in that fashion every single week, in the last minute through a VAR decision every single week, he still needs to be sacked, because ultimately we are still losing, and that is not good enough whatsoever. And like I said, we now go into a Merseyside derby on Wednesday, which he will take charge in. Alan Myers confirmed that he will be in charge of Everton for the derby. I think we all knew it anyway. I think we pretty much knew that. Once he kept his job after last week's game against Norwich, it was pretty certain to state that he was going to keep his job again, certainly after the fact that, again, like I said, we weren't massively awful yesterday, but, the stats speak for themselves. Not won a game when we've gone, behind by a goal. Very rarely lost when we've gone behind by a goal, but we lost yesterday. 9 losses in 14. I think we've lost 8 this season. The teams that we've lost against are scary. It's not just the losses, it's the sides that we've lost against and the performances that we've been putting in. If we'd played Arsenal, Chelsea, United, City, Liverpool, Tottenham, Leicester, and we'd lost all of those games, you'd look and we'd beat Norwich, Sheffield United, Villa, Bournemouth, West Ham, Wolves, etc, etc. You could look at those and you could go, fair enough, but we've not. We've been beaten by the sides that you looked at the start of the season and thought, we should win those games. And now we're going into a period where we're playing those top sides that you would have initially thought, maybe we'll struggle against those sides. And for me, that's just massively, massively worrying. And I really don't know where we go from here. But like I said, yesterday was the first time that I really sat back and went, I am a little bit worried that this could potentially, we could potentially be in a bad relegation battle here, and if we do go into a relegation battle, I'm not too sure we've got the backbone and the stability to get out of it, to be honest with you. I want to talk about leadership in a second. Let me just dive back into the live comments. Arthur Bunny says, Liverpool beating us and Corbyn losing the election will probably encourage me to cry myself to New Year. Yeah, me too, mate. David says, we are slow, lack belief, tactical awareness and Red Bull. Mark says, I'm slowly getting disinterested with us at the minute. Craig says, we'll be 1-1 and we'll lose 2-1 in the 500th minute. Wouldn't surprise me, mate. Jonathan says 1-1, I think. David says, lol, VAR 3, Salah 1. Eugene says, do you think Everton needs to drop Jordan Pickford in goal now? No, because I just don't think Jonas Laers will be up for it, and no, Martin Stecklenberg is enough for lift, so no. But again, I'm not massively impressed with Jordan Pickford over the last few weeks. David says, for who? Arteta says, no, we don't. David says, Snadlin and Sigurdsson, yes. Please, no, they've got absolutely no pace whatsoever in that midfield. PG says, after that Richie goal, I thought we would actually win, but yet again, same old Everton. Stephen Penton says, only Richarlison's likely to be scoring in this team. We can't keep clean sheets. Our goal isn't enough in a game to win, never mind at all. We need 2 to 3 goals, then defenders won't be so much. David says, 9 losses in 14. Stephen says, emphasis on them to keep a clean sheet. AXM says, do you think the board are waiting for the derby to be over before getting a manager, as it would be a baptism of fire if it was his first game? I can see where they're coming from. I can see where you're coming from and saying that, and I can also see where people are coming from and saying maybe the board are just waiting for us to get this massively tough month out the way, massively tough month of December, and then they're going to sack him, and they've already planned to sack him, and they're going to use this next 2 or 3 weeks to get a new manager in place. Let's get through this tough period, sack Marco Silva, and then bring that new manager in and go, right, you've got a whole host of winnable games now, go out there and win. I'd like to say that that could be the situation, or like you've said, the situation is wait until after the derby and then sack him and then bring a new manager in when we're playing sides that for me are a little bit more winnable. But I just don't trust the Everton board to be that proactive. I really, really don't trust the Everton board to be that proactive. I think what we see on the pitch is massively symbolic of what's going on in the upstairs of Everton Football Club. We're all sitting here every single week saying Marco Silva's not proactive enough. It's always a reactive substitution. It's always a wrong tactical change, and I think that's exactly what's happening in the top of the football club as well. I would love for us to be sitting here now and Everton say, right, well listen, we know this fella's not going to last. We know he's not good enough to take us forward, and we know he's been massively poor this season, so he is going to get the sack. But what we're doing is we're working on bringing a Rafa Benitez in, or we're working on bringing a Pochettino in. So we're going to get that deal done first. We're going to give Marco Silva the next 2 or 3 weeks, and then once we've got a deal for this manager or that manager done, we're then going to sack Marco Silva and bring them in. And I think we'd all sit there and we'll go, you know what? Okay, it's probably going to be a shock in 2 or 3 weeks, and we're probably going to be in a real relegation battle, but at least there's light at the end of the tunnel. Whereas I really don't trust the Everton board to be thinking like that, and I really don't trust the Everton board to have a plan. I genuinely think they're sitting there saying, well, you know what, we believe that he can turn this around and we back him, and then if it comes to the 1st of January, and all of a sudden we've lost to Chelsea, we've lost to Liverpool, we've lost to United, we've lost to Arsenal, I think that's when they'll be reactive again rather than proactive, and they'll make that change, and then they'll go, Moise, do you want to come back? Or let's throw money at Eddie Howe and make him the highest paid manager in the Premier League, all for the risk that he mightn't be able to do anything. And that's what I fear is the case. Paul says bottom 3 after the midweek fixtures. It is. I worry about that myself. David says championship. It's a worry, mate. Alex says, yes, Cam. Yes, Alex, hope you're doing well. Stephen says, set pieces and corners have never been so poor for us. Doubt we are working on them much in attack and saying, and we need to create more from them. We do. I'm not going to read that, PG, because I don't really want to go into any personals. Stewie says, I do think Silva's gone after the derby, and I'm not going to read that about Corbyn either. Let's keep politics right out of it, because politics is my last worry at the minute. David says, Posh, they haven't loads of laughing faces. You can say that, and you know what? I think it's quite funny because, listen, I want to talk about Pochettino, because Pochettino's come out today and he said that, he's ready to get back into football. He's had about, he's had 2 weeks off, or nearly 2 weeks off in his, his home country of Argentina, and now he's ready to listen to offers. He said he's been given some really, really good lucrative offers from certain clubs, and he's also interested in projects going forward. Now, you listen to that and you think, well, Everton had a project going forward. Would Pochettino come to Everton? Probably not. And he mightn't. Bill Kenwright or Farhad Moshiri might pick up the phone to Pochettino and might say, we'll give you 10 million a season to come to Everton, and he might turn around, laugh and go, gets a foot, no chance, mate, absolutely no chance. And then they might go, right, fine, see you later. But at least we've approached them. Look at what Leicester done with Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers was winning everything with Celtic, comfortably winning the league every single season, comfortably winning their cup competitions. What did Leicester do? They sacked the manager and they went, actually, Brendan, do you want to come here? We'll give you a load of money, and here's the project. Here is where we want to be in 2 or 3 years. Brendan Rodgers has gone there, and all of a sudden they're going to finish in the top 4. I have got all faith that Leicester will finish in the top 4. Look at what Tottenham have done. They sacked Pochettino when they turned around to Mourinho and he said, regardless of whether you manage Chelsea, Man United, regardless of the loyalty in football, here's a shed load of money, come in and do a job for us. And he's come in, and Mourinho's even said himself, yeah, maybe I did once say that I wouldn't go to Tottenham, but then I was sacked, so I've come here. There's absolutely no loyalty in football whatsoever. And if there's any saying that rings home about football and football managers and footballers in this day and age, is that money talks, and money will talk to Pochettino. If Farhad Moshiri picks that phone up and says to Pochettino, 15 million a year, come and manage Everton, who knows what he'll say? Yeah, he might turn around and laugh it off and say, nah, you're alright, no chance, look at you, she's a shit. Fair enough, then he puts the phone down and then we go, you know what, whatever, we go for someone else, we go for Benitez, we maybe approach somebody else, but what's the point in going, no, he'd never come to us, so why not approach him? Because then in 2 or 3 weeks when Pochettino settled at another job, he might say, yeah, there was a couple of Premier League clubs that I was interested in, and then he might drop, Everton were one but I was interested in, but, they never really come in for me. What's the point in going, nah, he'd never come to us, so, why should we even approach him? That's such a weak mentality. It's such a small club mentality to go, nah, he'd never come to us, so we're not even going to approach him. Approach him if he laughs at you and says no, whatever. Then come to the fans and say, yeah, we've got this manager, but we did approach X, Y, and Z, and they all said no. And then we can go, well, you know what? At least we approached them. Don't turn around and say, nah, they'll never come, so we won't approach them. That is the weak mentality that runs through this football club that is ultimately leading us to the situation we're in now in the football pitch. We've got absolutely no leaders in the team. We've got absolutely no leaders at the club. The manager's not a leader. The captains aren't leaders. The striker isn't a leader. The midfielders aren't leaders. The defenders aren't leaders. The board aren't leaders. There's absolutely no leadership whatsoever in this football club, and that's why we're watching us fall to bits in front of our eyes every single week. What we're watching on the pitch is absolutely symbolic of what's happening at the top of the football club, and that that is the truth. That really is the truth. Now, don't get me wrong. Listen, I think there was times on Sunday yesterday where the midfield were poor. Obviously, we scored the first goal. All's good, and then Leicester understand that they need to get back into the game. They're constantly threatening. They're constantly attacking us and putting pressure on us. We let them back into the game. It's a stupid ball across the box. It's not defended. Jordan Pickford arguably should come out and see it out, but he doesn't. Mason Holgate doesn't sack his man. Ultimately, Tom Davies leaves the man. Jamie Vardy gets on the end of it. He's going to score in that situation, and like I said, from that point on, you're all of a sudden thinking, you know what? We're probably going to lose this game. What happens? Go to the other end. They had a shout for a penalty earlier on in the game, which is absolutely never a penalty. The lad dives. How he's not booked for such a blatant dive is beyond me. Yes, Mason Holgate is very, very stupid to even attempt to tackle in the first place, but the lad's already jumping before Mason Holgate goes anywhere near him. And for me, that if that doesn't warrant a yellow card for Darwin, I don't know what does. But again, I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter recently about, over the last 24 hours about Tom Davies, about Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Again, people coming out and saying the Championship players at best, they're nowhere near good enough. I think it's interesting to, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, and that's fair enough, but I think it's interesting to see, some people coming out and saying that when they're the same people that were massively praising Tom Davies 2 or 3 weeks ago for what were fantastic performances by the lad, fantastic against Southampton and fantastic in various other games as well. Tom Davies has been one of our best players in the last 6 weeks, whether you like it or not. It's pure fact. It is pure the truth. He had a poor game yesterday, and we're okay to criticise him for having a poor game, but let's not turn around all of a sudden and jump on his back once again and say he's shocking, he's Championship quality, he's the worst player someone's ever seen in an Everton shirt, because I'm reading all that when that's absolutely bollocks. It's not the case whatsoever. The lad has been fantastic for the past 4, 5, 6 weeks. He had a really poor game yesterday. Fair enough, criticise him for that in the same way that you can criticise Dominic Calvert-Lewin for it. Dominic Calvert-Lewin's our leading goal scorer this season, so if he's a Championship quality player, then watch Cenk Tosun, watch Gylfi Sigurdsson, because neither of them have got the same amount of goals as Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So I think, listen, I think, again, I just wanted to touch on that because I think some of the stuff on Tom Davies and Dominic Calvert-Lewin isn't warranted. Yet criticise them, yet they both have poor games. That's absolutely fair enough. But some of the stuff I've read is just absolute bollocks in my opinion. But everyone's entitled to their own opinion, of course. Listen, if you're enjoying the live stream, please do hit that like button. It means a massive amount to me. If you're new to the channel as well, please do subscribe. But yeah, like I said earlier on, there's no leaders in this team. There's absolutely no leaders whatsoever. And you know, we touched on Pochettino earlier. The Chinese league's just finished. Rafa Benitez come out a couple of weeks ago and said that, you know, he'd be back open for a move to the Premier League, and Everton is a club that he'd be open to a move to. However, you know, he's not going to leave until the Chinese, you know, season is finished. That has finished. It finished last weekend. Maybe we should approach him now. But I want to talk about mentality, and I want to talk about leadership, because it sprung clear to me in one certain situation yesterday, and that was when Moise Kean come on. Now, Moise Kean, bearing in mind, let's add a little bit of context to this situation, because looking at it, you know, in plain view, you probably wouldn't think too much of it, but let's add a little bit of context to the situation. Moise Kean is a player that, let's be perfectly honest, has been sidelined by a manager who very clearly doesn't rate him or prefer him. A manager who very clearly believes that he isn't good enough to make a difference in this team. Now, again, Moise Kean come on yesterday, and for me, he was our most creative player. He was the most creative player to put an Everton shirt on yesterday. He created multiple opportunities. He scared the Leicester defence by actually showing some willingness to run at them, actually showing some pace, actually showing some skill. He was very, very unlucky not to put the ball in the back of the net, which would have been an absolutely fantastic goal. But again, this is a player that's played 15 minutes in the last 10 weeks for Everton Football Club because the manager just hasn't fancied him. This is a player that wasn't brought on in a game that we were being beaten by the team that are rock bottom in the Premier League, and instead was, you know, a right back was prepared to him because the manager that, you know, didn't have enough faith in the lad to come on and change the game. He come on yesterday, and again, like I said, he was really, you know, really positive. He was attacking, he was showing his pace, he was showing his passion. And for me, just to touch on it, just to go a little bit off track for a second, the lad needs to start in the Merseyside derby. And if the lad isn't in that starting 11 come 7:15 on Wednesday, or 7 o'clock on Wednesday, whenever it is, Marco Silva needs sacking on the spot before the ball's even kicked in the Merseyside derby, because that lad needs to be starting 100%. He created more than Cenk Tosun has done in the last 3 weeks, and he created more than Dominic Calvert-Lewin done yesterday in the 10 to 15 minutes he was on the pitch. But anyway, that's just, you know, we'll talk about that in the game preview to the Liverpool game, which will be live on the channel tomorrow at 6 p.m. But anyway, Moise Kean comes on, and, you know, he creates a couple of opportunities, and the ball's fed to him, and he runs it out, and he gets in a little bit of a kerfuffle with one of the Leicester defenders. I'm not too sure who it is, I can't remember who it is, but he barges the Leicester defender. He uses his strength, he's a strong lad. He gets into the back of him, the ball's already out. Again, it's a little bit of tussle, but the Leicester defender comes up to him and has a little bit of a go and points him in the face. And then, you know, Moise Kean, to be fair to him, keeps his calm. Now, for a player that, you know, has had his attitude ridiculed by dickhead pundits like what's his face who used to play for Liverpool, I'm not even going to name him because he's an absolute idiot, and by various other pundits before, had his attitude ridiculed for maybe he hasn't got the right attitude. I actually think he kept his calm yesterday. He was pointed at by the player, he kept his arms down and he ignored him, but then he was pushed directly, and for me that's a yellow card straight away. He was pushed, and then he got in the face of the player. There was a little bit of nitty and gritty, and he had his arm, the lad put his arm across Moise Kean, and, you know, regardless of whether it was soft or it wasn't soft, whatever, it doesn't matter now, but he put his arm across Moise Kean, and he went like that, right across the top of his chest to his neck, and Moise Kean got on with it because he's not a player to go down, he's not a player to win. He got on with it, they had a bit of a kerfuffle, the referee stopped it, and, you know, whatever, it wasn't a yellow card. And I'm not turning around and saying it should have been a yellow card or it shouldn't have been any more than a yellow card, because it's football, you know, it's a contact sport, and, you know, again, in a situation where Yerry Mina's being punched in the stomach earlier on in the game, you're definitely not going to get anything for two players having a little bit of a kerfuffle. But my point is, Moise Kean gets up, he barges into a player, it's a fair challenge, the player gets up, reacts badly, pushes him, and then throws his arm across him. Not one Everton player ran with Moise Kean then, and not one Everton player ran up to him and actually backed up. Now, this is a lad that is void of confidence, isn't in the manager's best interest, and has just come on for the first time in however many weeks and has actually made an impact. A lad that is 19 years of age, come over from a foreign country and doesn't speak the language. He's got not one Everton player runs over to support him in that situation and, you know, either pull him away or get involved with the Leicester players' face and say, actually, you stay away from him because he's fucking our boy and you're not touching him, you're not going anywhere near him, you're not doing anything to him, so you stay away from him. He barged into you, grow up and deal with it. They don't, they all just watch, and that is so typical of this football club at the minute. There doesn't seem to be any team morality. They all come out and you see the pictures of insane in every single week, and you see them smiling and you you see them excited to see each other, and you see them coming out and talking about how much they learn, you know, how much they love each other and how much they're together as a club and how much we're together as a club. But they don't seem to be with each other on the pitch. They should have been. If that was when Duncan Ferguson played for Everton, for etc., or Tim Cahill played for Everton, or Mikel Arteta played for Everton, Leon Osman played for Everton, as soon as Moise Kean stood up and, you know, them two players squared up, there'd have been 3 Everton players. Duncan Ferguson would have been over there and he'd have been involved. Tim Cahill had been over there and he'd have been involved, and the main priority would be to protect your teammates and to make sure that they're alright. But no, they just leave him to get on with it, and it was a kerfuffle and nothing happened and nothing come of it. And maybe I'm reading too far into the situation, but the fact that he was left on his own to deal with that situation just shows that nobody is there for themselves. Nobody is there for each other in that team, and there isn't any leaders. Somebody should have been right over there, whether it be ragging Moise Kean away, whether it be getting involved in the argument themselves, or actually sticking up for the teammates. There's nothing more that we love as a fan base is that to see the players together, to see the players fighting for each other. That's why Seamus Coleman is an Everton legend. Yes, Seamus Coleman's an Everton legend because of his performances, you know, during the 2013-14 season, and for a period of about 3 or 4 years surrounding that were absolutely fantastic, and he was the best right back in the league. But he's also an Everton legend because he shows that team spirit, that getting involved. When Leighton Baines was, you know, I remember Anthony Knockout for Brighton threw in a 2-footed challenge against Leighton Baines at Goodison Park. You know, Leighton Baines didn't get hurt, luckily enough. Anthony Knockout was sent off. Seamus Coleman was at the other side of the pitch and ran over and got in his face and pushed him and had a go at him and called him for everything and made sure that he knew that he was sticking up for his teammates. Who done that for Moise Kean yesterday? Nobody. Who does that for anybody? Who done that for Andre Gomez when Andre Gomez had his leg snapped by a player who got up and wanted to get revenge? Absolutely nobody. I'm not hearing this. It was an accident bollocks by Son. I'm really not hearing it. Who got involved in the player's face? At the end of the day, whether it was an accident or not, a lad's had his leg broken by 2 players who've got nowhere near the ball. Luca Dean was the only man that was having a go at their bench. And I don't mean to go back and talk about that because that's a situation that's over now and it's being resolved. And I know Andre Gomez wouldn't want me to talk about it, but this again, there was no getting involved, there was no sticking up for the teammates, and again it was the same yesterday with the Moise Kean situation. Nobody ran to his aid, nobody ran over to say, you know what, get away from him, he's ours, you stay there Moise, we'll deal with this, get to fuck, you honourable lanky twat. Nobody done that, and they all just watched and let it unfold because there seems to be no togetherness in the team, in the club, and that's why we are where we are now. And like I said, for me, we're still going to struggle as long as this is the case, and I'm really not looking forward to the game on Wednesday. I'm really not. We're now in the live comments before we stop the stream, before we end the stream, should I say, sorry. Where are we? David says, who's the Forest Green manager? Get him in. Paul says, the lack of fight and do the ugly things is massively worrying. We need a defensive manager who will get us back to basics and start keeping clean sheets and build from there. Really good point. Jake says, why are we confirming Silva's future each week? Starting to feel sorry for him. He literally finds out he keeps his job week by week. Sack him or we get relegated then. Love. Again, I agree. It's a shambles. David says, because he should have gone 5 or 6 weeks ago. He should have gone 2 weeks ago he should have gone last week against Norwich, mate. At the end of the day, the fact that he kept him on after that Norwich game was absolutely criminal. He should have gone there and then and be done with it. David says, go for Simeone then. Contact him. Whether he turned around and says no. What have we got to lose? AXM says, it's worrying that we seem to be more equipped at coming up to a solution to the shit that is going on at the club rather than those rich twats in suits per usual. We're not really the people's club, fair enough. David says it's reality. I mean, it might be reality that these managers don't come to Everton, but I think if you'd have asked a Chelsea fan 5 or 6 weeks ago or a Spurs fan, do you think Mourinho would ever manage Spurs? I think they'd laugh and say no chance. Mourinho come out and himself and basically said, yeah, but I was offered a load of money and I was sacked by Chelsea, so why would they not come to Spurs? That's the reality of it. Chris says, hi mate, good luck for Wednesday. No hard feelings, may the best team win. I like to say good luck to Chris, but I'm too bitter to say that, but thank you very much. Dave says, so off Chris. Lavit says, I would go for Rafa, or hope that they have. It's a sad fact, but Everton may need someone who can get them promoted. Rafa does that on the CV. Personally, I've not got the stomach for the derby. Yeah, I'd go for Rafa Benitez as well, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. And I think the club would be absolutely stupid to not approach him. Jake says, let's be honest, we're never going to get Simeone or Poch, but this way we should be looking at someone like the Real Betis or Werder Bremen, someone like Poch. No, we mightn't realistically get them, but why not approach them? What do we lose in approaching these people? Chris says, David, I'm not winding you up, mate, just respectful, don't worry. Good stuff. Chris, as usual. Paul says, are you watching / going the derby cam? I'm not going, I will be watching, of course. Lavit says, when the club go for the man, get the man, because if Wade got out, nobody wants to be second choice. Spot on. Stewie says, Davis is decent, but you can't blame him with some shite around him. He shines when Gomez is next to him. Really good point. David says, Chris, you're cool with me, mate. My family are all Reds, believe me. I get a ton of shit when the derby comes round. Don't we all, mate? Nick says, hey, Cam, how's it going, pal? Not too bad, Nick. Hope you're doing well yourself. David says, save Silva. Chris says, David, you should tell him to wait after the derby because we don't want to go over the top and we end up not winning. You know, you're a sensible cop, Chris. Kevin says, we all know Silva is a dead man walking, so don't you think he should have played Kean at Leicester from the beginning? After watching Kean's performance against Leicester, he should be playing Kean against Liverpool from the beginning, and that is an absolute cert. Tom says, they're waiting for the derby to be out the way, then bringing in Rafa, mark my words. Maybe, hopefully you're right, mate. Ian Martin, Everton 1968 says, after a good game for a long time, but Silva still makes the wrong subs changes again. He did. Nick says, agree with you about Moise Kean. We have to remember he's 19, but I think he needs to start, but with a strike partner, i.e. Calvert-Lewin, I agree. David says, we haven't won at our old ground that we gave you in 20 odd years, Chris, but we're shit and we'll stop you winning the league again. Stewie says, Cam, do you fancy the manager's job? I think you'd smash it. No, mate, I don't. To be honest, I'd have too much to say for myself. I'd get sacked just on what I had to say about everything else in the club. Nick says, Sigurdsson captain, what was he doing? Nothing, and he shouldn't be captain. Gaz says, you're right, Cam, no passion at all. Exactly. Chris says, hope not, David. Lavvid says, Moise Kean is 19, out of his depth and was never going to be the answer now. However, I can still see him settling in the Prem all right. Just hope it's at Everton, given my previous comments. I agree. Ian says, go on, I am back for the second time, and your outlook is perfect. You talk a lot of trust. Thank you very much, Ian. Lavard says, we signed him for 30 million. We did. Alex says, can you say glorious ninny instead of... I don't know what that is or who that is, so I'm not going to say it. Eugene says, Everton on Everton rumours. Everton says, yeah, Everton now rumoured to be signing Everton, who ultimately is a player who plays in Brazil for a load of money. Again, I don't know. I don't know if there's anything in that, to be honest with you. Dave says, anyway, that'll do for tonight. I'll be back for the post-match meltdown. Like, subscribe, and share. Yeah, that is going to do it for today's live team. I hope you all have enjoyed. If you have, please do hit that like button. It means a massive amount to me. Let's see if we can get to 20 before the stream ends. Please do share the stream, like the video, like I said, subscribe to the channel if you're new, as well. The support recently has been absolutely fantastic. So big thanks to everybody. We'll be back tomorrow, straight away, 6 PM for the live game preview to the Liverpool game. I think we just have to be positive, don't we? And I just think we have to be as positive as possible and hope for the best, really. I think that's all we can say. Ian says, you see changes when the side gets a little luck at times. I think VAR is causing problems for everyone. I think the derby is going to be a hard game that will get some belief back. I agree. And Eugene says, see you, bye. Thank you very much, Eugene. But yeah, big thanks to everyone for watching. Please do hit the like button if you have enjoyed the stream. Subscribe to the channel if you're new as well. If you're watching the YouTube video, leave your comments in the comment section down below and I'll get involved with as many of them as possible. And like I said, don't forget to join us tomorrow at 6 o'clock for the live game preview of the Merseyside derby at Anfield on Wednesday, of course. And then we'll have all the post-match stuff after the derby. Get that over and done with. And then we look forward to Chelsea. But let's see where we are after Wednesday's game. Big thanks to everybody watching. Chris says, take care, everyone. Great channel and fans. Thank you very much, Chris. Nick says, take care, mate. Have a good week. Thank you very much, Nick. You too. Lavit says, remember Wayne Clark. I do. David says, Chris, thumbs up. Nick says, Everton win, hopefully. And Shabba says, we're going to win 1-0 on Wednesday. Remember, you heard it first. I hope you're right, mate. I really do hope you're right. Anyway, big thanks for watching. Please do hit the like button if you have enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And I'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.